Good evening. It is 6 o'clock, June 20th. It's time to call the San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District Board of Trustees regular meeting to order. Ms. Haynes, would you please call roll?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Chavita?
Here.
Mr. Mesa?
Here.
Mr. Overfelt?
Present.
Mrs. Martinez Lozano?
Here.
Mrs. Gonzalez?
Here.
And Mr. Smith, and myself.
Present, yeah.
Okay. Ms. Haynes, do we have a quorum?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let the record show that a quorum of the board members are present, that this meeting has been duly called, and notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, if we would please stand for opening ceremonies, beginning with a moment of silence and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we open our meeting today with recognitions. Recognition of career and technical education health science students who earned national industry certifications. Mr. Roger Gonzalez.
Good evening, President Martinez Lozano, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. Career and Technical Education would like to recognize students and their instructors who recently took and earned their industry certification in their respective health science capstone course. We will first start off with our CNA program, led by nurse Laura Guerrero. Students can actually stand right there, face the audience. Up, up, up. Up. One more. Right there. That's okay. This CNA students we had a total of 17 CNA students, but due to college orientation and college programs, a lot of the students could not be with us this evening. That applies to all three programs, but we did have 17 students that passed the certification. Students enrolled in Health Science Nurse Assistant Program have completed all the qualifications as required by the Nurse Assistant Training and Competency Evaluation Program, thus earning the title of Certified Nursing Assistant, or CNA. The students are required to complete 100 hours of instruction, including 60 classroom instruction hours, 40 clinical training hours. The nurse aide must also pass a training program to be eligible to take the National Nurse Aide Assessment exam, which consists of an objective part and skills examination consisting of 5 randomly selected skills out of a possible 54 testing skills. Students are required to become competent on 54 skills, which includes nursing, rehabilitation, and mental health skills. Earning CNA certificates is Carolina Aguirre Nunez, Joanna Marie Briones, Melissa Carizales, Madeline Castañeda, Amanda Delgado, Alejandra Diaz, Brenda Duran, Elena Flores, Allison Garcia, Delilah Morales, Deramis Peña, Larissa Reina, Silvia Rodriguez, Brandy Salas, Mariana Sandoval, Valeria Vasquez, and Raul Yanez. Congratulations to our CNAs this year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nurse Guerrero. The second group of students that you will see this evening is our pharmacy technicians program, led by Nurse Jana Kalk. And also special thanks to the 47 medical group, especially Captain Emerthal, that actually assisted the group with their examination. The Pharmacy Technician Certification Exam is a computer-based 2-hour exam administered by Pearson VUE testing centers nationwide. This exam was developed by experts to cover 9 knowledge domains to include some of the following: pharmacy law and regulations, sterile and non-sterile compounding, medical safety, quality assurance, medication order entry and fill process, and over 200 top drugs. Out of the requirements of this exam is for students to have their high school diploma. So 1 week after graduation, on June 10th, students boarded a bus to San Antonio to take this challenging industry exam. Thanks goes out to several local pharmacists and technicians that assisted the group with the domains or topics of this exam. Our new pharmacy technicians include Clarissa Alderete, Maria Arrocha, Sarah Cirildo, Alfredo Delgado, Ivana English, Marisol Estrada, Jamin Medina, Jesse Montalvo, Ricardo Sandoval, Sloan Shenewolf, Kayla Valdez, Erica Varela, Marisa Vasquez, and Beatriz Villarreal. Congratulations, pharmacy techs.
Do it afterward. We can all be screwed.
Congratulations, sir. Good job, sir. Good job. Good job, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Nurse Jana. The third group to be recognized this evening under Health Science is our Emergency Medical Technicians group, led by Nurse Mary Jo Hartman. We have a program director of Luis Gonzalez, also skill instructors David Mesa and Gustavo Martinez. We had 10 students enrolled in this program. 4 of them could be here this evening. The rest are actually attending college events. Students enrolled in the Health Science Emergency Medical Technician, or EMT, program have completed all the qualifications as required by the National Registry of Emergency Medical Technicians, thus earning the title of EMT Basic, or B. These students completed 228 lesson or clinical hours, 28 plus hours in the lab, 30 clinical hours. Also, they spent 16 hours in the emergency department, 6 to 8 hours in the respiratory department, as well as completed 5 ambulance runs. The EMTBs must pass the cognitive pre-certification exam with an 80 and pass psychomotor skills with 100% accuracy. allowing only 2 attempts to be eligible to take the national exam. Students are required to become competent on 10 cumulative scenario skills, which are a combination of 82 learned skills throughout the year. Again, earning the EMT B is Raya Emmons, William Berge, Eric Cruz, Cody Divan, Jacqueline Grace, Fernando Santos, Nisha Terra, Victoria Trevino, Julian Vasquez, and Andres Vasquez. Congratulations, EMT.
Thank you so much.
Good job, sir.
Thank you so much. I'm so proud. I'm so proud. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nurse Hartman. These are 3 of the capstone health science programs. We are adding a couple more certification programs. I think this is actually very specialty programs that many high schools do not have. And we are very lucky with the support of administration to actually fund these programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, and all of the teachers for the many hours of education, studying, support, encouragement. I'm sure that's not easy. Can't even imagine that EMT test. But anyway, congratulations to everybody on their certifications. Going on, the next item is citizens to be heard. Betty is stating we don't have anybody signed up for that, so we'll go on to 6 public hearings. We don't have a public hearing tonight. Then under board members' report, I have a correspondence from the Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, basically that was received as a directive from the Department of Education and Department of Justice. In the directive, the school districts around the country were directed to allow students to use the bathrooms, showers, and locker rooms they choose regardless of gender, as well as to play on girls' or boys' sports teams of their choice. The letter also threatened loss of federal funding for failure to comply. But make no mistake, the directive does not carry the force of law. Currently, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is pursuing a lawsuit joined by 12 other states in the country that seeks to clarify this point. So at this time, basically, there will be no changes in our district. We don't anticipate any changes. And this is what Dan Patrick states. I think we all know individual student issues are best addressed locally on a case-by-case basis and not by a one-size-fits-all directive from Washington. Rest assured, Texas will not yield to this unconstitutional federal overreach or allow our students, teachers, and schools to be bullied. We will protect and provide for every student without exception. So I just wanted to make sure that if there are any concerns out there, that we just know that at this time there are no changes in our district, and we will proceed as we always do. Okay, so then the next agenda item are reports. First report is presentation by Estrada Hinojosa Financial Advisors on the final pricing results related to the San Felipe del Rio Consolidated Independent School District Unlimited Tax Refunding Bonds, Series 2016. Presentation by Mr. David Gonzalez.
Good evening, Madam President,
Good evening.
members of the board, administration. For the record, my name is David Gonzalez with Estrada Hinojosa. We have our presentation up here on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and begin. As you all remember, I was here in February, and in February there was a portion of the district's outstanding debt, the Series 2008 bonds, which were eligible to be refinanced and save the district some money. If you all remember, we did this again last year on another series of bonds. We saved the district last year about $1.2 million. Here we have the final results of our pricing that we did just about a month and a half ago. And you all would be very pleased to know that we saved the district again about another $1.3 million. So in the last 2 years, we've saved the taxpayers about $2.5 million just by the board's actions of moving forward with these opportunities. So I'm going to go ahead and begin. If there's any questions at any time, again, this is just an informative presentation. If there's any questions, please stop me. If you look at this chart here, you notice interest rates are at historic lows right now, and they've been at the levels they're in right now. It really kind of kicked off in 2008. So if you look where we are right now, we're still back at those real low levels, and for those reasons, we're able to refinance a lot of debt and take advantage of the interest rates in the market. If you look at the next page here, we have your financing team. We have the issuer, San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated ISD. We have your financial advisor, your bond counsel, your underwriters. These are the folks who go out there and sell the bonds in the market to investors. Underwriters Council, the rating agencies, we have Standard & Poor's and Moody's. We have some good news from them here momentarily. Bond insurance, we use the state, and your paying agent and escrow agent, Bank of Texas, and your verification agent, we use the arbitrage group. If you jump over to the next page, here is what we call the sources and uses page. If you look at the par amount, this is the par amount of the bonds. We were able to refinance $8,470,000. Of that $8.4 million, we were able to generate enough $1.5 million in premium, which is to the district's advantage, because from that premium that's generated because of the low interest rates in the market, you can use that money to pay cost of issuance and other costs as well. If you look under that, we go to uses. We have SLGS purchases. These are the notes that we purchase to pay off the old bonds, and we have your cost of issuance. Under that, we have your underwriter's discount, and if you notice, there's an asterisk there next to cost of issuance. Cost of issuance includes at the bottom Attorney General's fees, bond counsel fees and expenses, escrow agent fees, financial advisor's fees and expenses, paying agent fees, rating agency fees, and verification agent fees. So all of that is from the cost of issuance, and then the underwriter's discount, that's the portion that the underwriters go out and it's their incentive to go out there and market these bonds and sell these bonds to investors. We go to the next page, the credit and rating enhancement. If you look here, the first underlying rating at the top, we have Moody's Investor Service. The district is now rated at a AA3. You all received another upgrade this year, so congratulations on that. If you go below that, we have Standard & Poor's. That they kept that rating as the same to an A+, but that was increased. If you all remember last year, they increased you all to an A+. So 2 upgrades in 2 years, that's pretty good. There's not a lot of districts that can say that. And you only have ratings from 2 agencies, not 3. So that's pretty impressive. If you go down to the bottom, we have San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated received a AAA by virtue of the PSF. So because the district went out there and we used the state's underlying rating to sell these bonds, you had the highest rating possible when you priced the bonds. So it's just like an insurance policy that the state offers for about $1,300, which is what we use. And because of that, it makes your paper that much more attractive. If you jump over to the next page, here we have the refunding summary. So we look here at a par amount. We refinanced $8,470,000 in bonds. We were able to save the district in net present value savings, $1,368,116, percentage savings of 15.311. If you all remember, typically anything over north of 3% we recommend to move forward with. In this case, we're at 15%, so that's very well above the typical threshold for savings. If you look at the average annual savings, you're looking at $88,000 of average annual savings, and you're looking at a true interest cost of 2.15%. So very low rates for you all. So congratulations on that. If you jump over to the next page, or here on the next slide, we have the eligible bonds to be refunded. So if you look at, here we have the 2008 bonds. We have your interest rates on the third column from the left, existing coupons. Those are essentially the maturities that we refinanced, and we were able to lock in the rates. If you jump all the way to the right, the second column from the right, those are the rates that we were able to refinance those bonds at. And that's where the savings comes from. So it's just a matter of number one, it's a matter of the markets that we're in. Number two, it's a matter of the real high ratings that the district has. So those are the two main factors. If we go to the next slide, here we have basically your prior mortgage here where it says prior debt service, your second column from the left. This is what you were obligated to pay on the old bonds. By refunding the bonds with the rates that the market's providing today, if you jump all the way to the second column from the right where we have present value savings, which accounts for what $1 is worth in today's market, that's where the net present value savings is. The district saved $1.368 million. In future value savings, the district saved potentially $1.6 million if the dollar stays where it is today. So that's a big chunk of savings. It's bigger than the refinancing we did last year. So if you jump over to, or if you look at the next slide here, we have the timetable of events. We priced these bonds April the 4th, and we closed on May the 5th. Here we have, this is what you call a prospectus. Any investor that purchases a bond from Fidelity or any kind of insurance company, State Farm or anything like that, and they purchase San Felipe Del Rio bonds, this is page 1 of the document that they receive. This has all the, it's actually about a 120-page document that includes your audits, but this is just the first page, and it includes your the rating, your underlying rating, kind of the structure of the bonds, information on the purpose of issuing these bonds, the legality of it, et cetera, who your underwriters are, who your paying agent is. This is just what we call a prospectus. Here, the next few pages, I'm not going to go over in detail because they're just reports from the rating agencies. But this is kind of an important one. So if you look at the title here, San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated New Issue, Moody's upgrades to AA3. And that reading on the bottom is the rationale, and it breaks it down, and they give you their whole analysis as to why they thought this was a good time to upgrade the district. So it's a very detailed read. They tell you about all the positives that they see from a financial perspective, from a rating perspective. They kind of break all that out for you. The next is, again, it's a long read. It's a very detailed read. I'm not going to go through everything. But on this page, here we have now the report from Standard & Poor's. And if you see, Standard & Poor's kept the district at an A+ stable rating, which is a very positive rating, which is the same rating that the last year Standard & Poor's upgraded this district to this specific rating. So they kept you all at the same levels. So that's a very good news as well. And then here is just a guarantee from the state that for whatever reason, if at any time the district cannot make any payments, principal or interest payments, the insurance basically has, or the state has the insurance on your bonds and will make any payments. So they're guaranteeing that any investor that owns this paper will get paid no matter what. And that's another reason that the interest rates were so low. With that, if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything, but that's my report. It was a very successful financing. I think it was probably one of the, typically we try to go into the market, we open the window, we start taking orders in, we close the order period within 45 minutes. I think this was one of the first deals closed that day because it was oversubscribed. A lot of people out in the market wanted to purchase this paper. So for that, it drives, the yields down. We're able to negotiate, generate premium on the bonds, which is how you pay for cost of issuance. So a lot of things worked in the favor of the district this specific day that we're in the market, and it has to do to the ratings, the increased ratings, and the low interest rate environment. So congratulations, 2 years of $2.5 million in savings to the taxpayers of Del Rio. That's a big deal, very big deal. So congratulations to the board, and if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer anything.
Phenomenal. That's great stuff. I got one question. Out of all the districts that go through Moody Investment Services, what percentage have this kind of rating? Would you know
That's
that?
a real good question. I'll tell you right now, typically any kind of border credit, you already have a strike against you. It doesn't matter if you're a city, a county, or a school district.
Yeah.
So you're never going to find an Eagle Pass, a Laredo, or any of those that have a AAA underlying rating by themselves. Typically, you have to, number one, you have to have certain property values. You have to have certain amount of students to even be considered in this category. So to be a AA3, Del Rio is kind of an outlier. Most districts the size of Del Rio are not a AA3, especially if you're a border credit. So the reason that they were able to do that or feel comfortable upgrading you is because the finances of the district are in such good order, and the district is in such good order that they felt that they had no issue letting investors know that this was a safe credit to purchase. So there's not a whole lot, especially on the border.
Awesome. Phenomenal.
Mr. Chavita?
Well, it's not a question to Ms. Gonzalez, it's just congratulations on Llano County and our superintendent for getting us there. So we sure do thank you.
Absolutely. Good job.
Thank you, David, for
Okay, thank you all very much.
for
Appreciate
saving
your
us
time.
1.3.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you for your support. Okay. B is San Felipe Del Rio CISD School Health Advisory Council, otherwise known as the SHAC, report, which is Dr. Jorge Garza and Ms. Elizabeth Moynihan.
I'm Elizabeth Moynihan. I'm the chairman of the School Health Advisory Council for this year. Mr. Garza's my helper here. The School Health Advisory Council, every independent school district is required by law to have a, here, backwards? Uh-oh. There you go. Every independent school district is required by law to have a school health advisory council, of which the majority of the members must be parents who are not employed by the school district. School health advisory councils, or SHACs, provide an efficient, effective structure for creating and implementing an age-appropriate, sequential health education program and early intervention and prevention strategies that can easily be supported by local families and community stakeholders. What do the SHACs do? The SHAC is a group of individuals that represent segments of the community and the school district to advise the school district on coordinated school health programming and its impact on student health and learning. We look at nutritional services, healthy and safe school environment, counseling and mental health services, staff wellness promotion, parent and community involvement, physical education, and health education. This year's member directory, it's actually a 2-page list here. 2/3 of the members of the SHAC this year were parents. By definition, the board shall appoint at least 5 members to the SHAC. A majority of the members must be parents of the students enrolled in the district and must not be employed by the district. There were 27 members on the SHAC this year. 18 of those were parents. The 2015-2016 meeting dates, we met September 30th, November 5th, January 13th, March 9th, April 5th, and May 3rd. The School Health Advisory Council Statement of Philosophy: we believe the purpose of our schools is to provide a comprehensive educational opportunity that encompasses the intellectual growth, emotional health, and physical wellness of our students, families, employees, and community in a safe and nurturing environment. It is our goal to empower the San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District students, families, employees, and community to actively participate in the safety, health, and education provided in our community through strong leadership, open communication, and advocacy for continuous improvement. So this year, issues that we discussed were the Healthy Futures of Texas Big Decisions project. This is the sex education project that was implemented last year at the 9th grade. We looked at food allergy forms that are required. They have to have doctor's orders, and we went over the policies for administration of special meals for students with food allergies. We discussed the use of EpiPens for students with allergies and what the district policies were and the availability of it. It was changed so that each school would have an EpiPen that's available for a student with unidentified anaphylactic reactions that would be available in the school school nurse's office. We looked at alternate meals and the charged meal policies for students who had run out of lunch money, and what the policy would be on how they would be offered those charged meals. The school district policy on attendance and illness, and as far as how many days that they could miss and what circumstances they could miss. We discussed information about head lice. Changes were made at the state level that students are no longer allowed to be kept out of school because of head lice. However, we are seeing a large amount of head lice in the community because of that. Immunization update at San Felipe Memorial Middle School. There's a new policy that they all must have the meningococcal vaccine before they enter the 7th grade, and we got an update on how they're doing with the immunizations. The policy on bathroom breaks for students. We had complaints that students were not being allowed out of the classrooms to go to the bathroom. At the elementary schools, we looked at secure storage to eliminate the need for children to carry excess weight from class to class because of the weight of the backpacks they're carrying in relation to their body weight. We looked at the recess and lunch schedules, and whether or not we were having recess for all elementary school campuses before lunch, and recesses that were at least 30 minutes. That was an issue on some of the campuses. And then at secondary schools, we looked at options for additional electives. Recommendations for the 2016-2017 school year from the School Health Advisory Committee include offering at least 30 minutes of recess per day for elementary students per federal recommendations, preferably before lunch. Increased options in electives offered at the secondary level, including additional language opportunities, additional dual credit electives for those not admitted to the early college high school, and electives for non-college bound students, and continuance of the Healthy Futures of Texas Big Decisions project at the freshman campus. The San Felipe Del Rio CISD SHAC will be seeking additional members through district homepage website recruitment. New applicant names will be brought before the school board for approval at the September 2016 board meeting, and will schedule its first meeting for October of 2016. The SHAC will continue to explore and discuss current concerns and introduce any and all new issues brought forward through the committee process. And Mr. Garza asked me that to read this regarding the School Health Advisory Council update. In compliance with BDF legal, the board shall establish a local school health advisory council to assist the district in ensuring that local community values are reflected in the district's health education instruction. Every independent school district is required by law to have a school health advisory council, of which the majority of members must be parents who are not employed by the school district. And that's from Title II, Chapter 28, Section 2804 of the Texas Education Code. The School Health Advisory Councils, or SHACs, provide an efficient, effective structure for creating and implementing an age-appropriate, sequential health education program and early intervention and prevention strategies that can be supported by local families and community stakeholders. SFDR CISD SHAC will post on the district homepage website and social media sites a recruitment letter seeking additional members. New applicant names will be brought before the school board for approval at the August 2016 board meeting. The 2016-2017 SHAC will schedule its first meeting for September 2016. Any questions?
Thank you for that report. Any questions? Thank you for your service, Elizabeth, and for all those who serve, because your time is precious to many. But definitely do appreciate your insight and your input. Okay. Third on the reports agenda is the Educator Excellence Innovation Program Grant Update. Dr. Rios, I believe, is going to start, and Ms. Saide Garcia and Ms. Ida Gomez.
Yes, ma'am. Get back to the first slide. Madam President, members of the board, our purpose tonight is to provide you a brief update on the EIP grant. The purpose of the grant is to promote innovation, leadership, education, and success, not only for our students, but for our employees. The grant was written 3 years ago. Those are the team members on the grant. Much appreciation to the time and effort that each one of them gave. It was an extensive process. We wrote this grant locally. A lot of districts hire consultants to write their grants or have a dedicated grant writer. We didn't either. We studied the needs of the district, and we put a team together and spent a whole lot of time writing the grant ourselves. This is, I would say, almost unheard of, at least in the districts that I've worked before.
Mr. Rios, what would that normally cost to hire somebody to do the grant?
The grant writers usually either have a percentage of the grant, or they write themselves in as an evaluator for the grant, and depending on the amount, they'll keep 1 to 4% of the grant.
1 to 4%.
What we did, though, we did know that we did need some coaching. So once we wrote the grant, we asked somebody to read it for us and grade it for us, but the cost was minimal. I think we paid them maybe $2,000. So that was a very small percentage of it. The purpose of the grant, as I said earlier, was to promote educator excellence and really transform what we're doing into higher quality programs. The first year, the grant was awarded for a total of 2 years for $1 million a year. We were very proud of this because of all the districts that applied, only 17 districts were funded statewide. And the fact that we wrote our own grant and we were one of the 17, well, that was just very nice. This last year, they extended the grant for an additional year. We again applied for the grant and we received an additional $1 million. So this marks a total of $3 million that we've been able to bring to the district to provide for the development of our educators, whether it be through staff development or different monetary incentives. The following few slides, we're going to describe specifically what the grant did for us, and I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Garcia and Ms. Gomez to go through that.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Rios, members of the board. There was 4 areas that the grant targeted. The first one was recruitment plan for shortage of teachers, career pathways for teacher certification, also principal certification, career pathways for instructional coach and master teachers, and then also a high-quality professional development. For recruitment plan for a shortage of teachers, we hired, of course, highly qualified teachers. The grant helped us to provide a $3,000 sign-in bonus for 41 employees, 17 during the 15-16 school year and 24 during the 14-15 school year, for a total of $123,000 for those critical shortage content areas. The grant also helped us provide a $1,000 incentive to 15 employees, 6 during the 15-16 school year and 9 during the 14-15 school year, for a total of $15,000 for implementing early hiring. So this is really, we encourage the staff members that are going to retire to give us early notice, and like that we can go ahead and post those vacancies as soon as possible so we can get those positions filled. And then also the grant helped us to provide a $2,000 signing bonus for 72 employees, 33 during the 15-16 school year and 39 during the 14-15 school year, for a total of $144,000 for those hard-to-staff campuses. For teacher certification, we provided a reimbursement for coursework training towards certification. So any of our teachers getting certification on ESL or bilingual, we reimburse for all that coursework. We provided a $4,000 compensation for additional certification to 10 employees. 4 came during the 15-16 school year and 6 during the 14-15 school year, for a total of $40,000 to critical shortage content area in bilingual education. The grant also helped us provide $2,000 in compensation for additional certification for 38 employees, which of those 8 during the 15-16 school year and 30 during the 14-15 school year, for a total of 76,000 to those critical shortage content areas, which include secondary math and science and ESL as well.
Can you go back? I just want to make a comment. We know the shortage of bilingual teachers that we had. And what's impressive about the efforts that Ms. Sandra Hernandez and Ida Gomez and everybody else led is that over the last 2 years, we've only hired 4 people that already have bilingual certifications. Through this program, we added an additional 10 certifications, which is more than what we would be able to recruit in any given year. So that was definitely a highlight of the program. Not the biggest investment, but definitely a highlight.
For teacher certification, also during the beginning of the 2014 school year, we had tuition programs for master's degree, for SAC certification, which that is the Southern Association of Colleges. And principal certifications were made available to 31 educators to improve the quality of our teachers by providing them with multiple ways to expand their career. We're very proud to announce that we have 4 participants that completed their SAC certification. We have 4 teachers that completed their master's degree, and there's still 6 of them that are taking classes this semester and will continue for the 16-17 school year. We also have 8 that completed certification for the principal certification. These were teachers or staff members that already had a master's degree, so they went through Region 4 for the alternative certification program to get their principal certification. We also had 3 participants that enrolled in autism graduate certification. So they're also currently enrolled during the summer 2016, and we're going to have favorability for them to continue so that they can get a master's degree in autism as well, because as we know, we have a high need for autism. Also, we have our master reading teachers. We have 2 teachers that enrolled and will complete the program this fall. And we have 9 teachers that enrolled for the 16-17 master reading teacher certification program through Region 4. We're very excited about this opportunity. In fact, we had some of our principals that had started interviewing for assistant principal, and they're very excited about the pool that they have for candidates. So now they feel that it's going to be a really hard decision to choose some of those candidates. Also, for principal certification, we had monthly meetings for principals, assistant principals, and we incorporated professional development. We did 2 book studies. One of them is the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and also Teach Like a Champion. We had response to intervention training by the Meadows Center, and we had breakthrough coach training. This is a consultant that came in, and because we know that our principals work long hours. I wouldn't be surprised if they put 60 hours a week. So what they really helped us with is to work on time management so that you don't spend so much time in your office doing paperwork, but actually spend more time outside in the classrooms with the kids where it gives more value. Some of the cohort they went through training was instructional management, school organizational climate, instructional leadership, instructional process monitoring, and setting annual campus performance goals. We also had an instructional coach academy, because we know that effective coaching changes teachers' practice, which improves student outcome. So we provided intensive training and mentoring, coaching, and modeling for academy participants. We also implemented a consultant with a very good teacher for conducting instructional coach training and planning protocol training. And they also had a book study for the art of coaching training and guided reading, focus on assessment and reading intervention. And we know that this position is evolving, but we really appreciate all the support that they provide to our teachers.
And as we continue with the report on how we helped, or the EIP helped build teacher capacity, we're looking at the Master Teacher Academy. This provided a district instructional coaching, mentoring, and planning protocol support. We had the QTEL, the Quality Teaching for English Language Learners, to improve the capacity of teachers and to support the linguistic, conceptual, and academic development of our English language learners. We were also able, for the past 3 years, to provide Abydos training, and last year we did have the letters training for our K2 component. This summer, we're very excited because we have been very busy with conferences. This EEIP grant has allowed us the 4 conferences that are listed there just this summer. So we had an Ignite Technology Conference in Irvine, Texas. We had the Learning Forward Conference in Hurst, Texas. We had the, can't see it. Oh, the CAMP. That is the math. That is the Conference for Academic Math Teachers. And that is going to be in San Antonio, Texas. And we currently have 42 teachers, local teachers, signed up for it. So we're very excited about that one. And then we also had a team that went to Austin for sheltered instruction. We had a coordinator and some of our strategists who attended that training. Continuing on, we currently have 6 demonstration videos. We have 6 teachers that have been videotaped, and those videotapes are being edited so that we can upload them onto our new dashboard this coming August. This will help all the teachers in the district to be able to view some of the quality teaching that's taking place. In the 14-15 school year, we had aides, instructional aides, that provided the additional support for planning protocol implementation at all the elementary campuses. And then we also had the opportunity to hire retired teachers to provide the support to include modeling, co-planning, co-teaching, and ensure the modeling of guided instruction. Just to summarize, QTEL, the Quality Teaching for English Language Learners, in August of 2015, all campus administrators were trained. That was part of the leadership initiative. We also had 80 bilingual teachers and 160 secondary content area teachers that were trained with all the QTEL tasks and strategies. At current time, we have 24 demonstration classrooms in the district. We have 14 elementary and 10 secondary classrooms who are implementing all the QTEL strategies. We have formal coaching on walkthrough training to the 30 administrators and participants, which included CNI and the strategist. And all of this was 100% funded by the QTEL. QTEL, was 100% funded by the EEIP grant. We also had a big push for the Abydos training. In summer of 2014-15, we had a total of 116 teachers trained in Abydos strategies, and that is very intense writing strategies. This summer, we have 30 teachers scheduled for a 12-day training already that will be held on starting July 11th. And we also have 6 half-day sessions of 3-day boot camps. And that's for any teacher who's gone through the training already, but wants a refresher course. So we're very excited about that. Of course, ongoing Abydos is also held at the campus level.
And to end the presentation, this is what the budget looked like. So in year 1, the total amount that we spent was $958,452. Year 2, right now, more or less, we have an estimate of $906,308, and that's, we have, of course, the $1 million budgeted for year 3. Looking ahead, we want to have compensation for our employees for those hard-to-staff vacant positions. So we would pay $3,000 for the master reading teacher. If they're serving in that capacity, then they would get a $3,000 stipend. We're also paying $275 for exemplary lesson plans. And then for certification, we're going to continue to pay for the Master Reading Teacher Academy through Region 4. So at this time, if there's any questions?
Questions?
I've got one
Mr.
question.
Smith?
I mean, this is phenomenal stuff. It'd be cool if you, maybe if you even know it already, but you mentioned a lot of training and you've touched a lot of employees of the district in the training. Cumulative, how many, do you know how many people you've touched cumulative? And you mentioned 40 and 60 and 100 and 160 and I don't know, there's a bunch of them.
And I don't have that readily available. However, we do have a system with the district. We go through Go Sign Me Up. So every teacher who attends any kind of training, we have records of all of that, Mr. Smith. We can easily get that for you.
Just curiosity more than anything. Very good, good stuff.
I think that's a great point, Mr. Smith, because that's kind of a bragging point. So definitely want to add that to future slides, because it is additional training that we're providing to our teachers, and that we know is something that is important to them that they've requested. So definitely putting that out there would be helpful and beneficial. Mr. Mesa?
I just want to say also that I think the lesson plans, where you have excellent people, some people that do excellent lesson plans is going to be a big support for incoming teachers that are perhaps new, that might not have any experience. And I have one question that has to do with, we're eliminating now writing from the testing requirements from the state. And then social studies is going to go away as well. So we'll be testing reading, language arts, perhaps in math. Is that correct?
I'll answer that. I think that those requirements that you mentioned as being eliminated, they're not required in the federal accountability system. But we've received nothing formally from the state that says that they will be eliminated from the state as well.
I see. Okay, so this is the new ESSA.
Right, so you're referring to the rewrite of the
No Child Left Behind.
Elementary Education Act,
Okay,
which is now going to be called ESSA.
so that's the federal.
That's federal. On the state side, the state has not indicated anything to lead us to believe that any assessments are going to be eliminated.
Okay. So along with that, AYP is going to be gone as well. AYP, adequate yearly progress.
Well, again, with the ESSA, they haven't called it adequate yearly progress, but they have described what the accountability system is going to look like. The type of progress that they're going to require districts, we'll have to wait and see when they put out the accountability manual. But they have very similar rules to what they had with AYP. For example, limiting the number of students that can take an alternative type of assessment, the participation, they did away with that, but the state still has the right to require participation. So they moved a lot of those decisions to the state. As soon as the accountability manual comes out, there will be plenty of agencies that will be providing a very specific training. I think Lead Forward is probably our go-to people when it comes to training. Not only do they train at the service center, but we also contract them to come here locally. But right now, all we have is the overall summary, what they've shared with the state, so that the state can start writing those specific guidelines.
I see. Okay. There was a session, the reason I'm asking is Bill Rutherford had a session, but it had to do with the federal requirements of visa. I think it'd be a good follow-up when he comes to Del Rio next time that he does a training to see how the state is going to develop theirs. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, ladies. Okay, D is attendance and discipline report, six weeks and year end. Dr. Jorge Garza and Aide Garcia.
Madam President, members of the board, we've shared with you the attendance and discipline report. There is just one point I'd like to make. I want Dr. Garza to make a presentation on attendance that he's prepared. But in terms of the reports, we know that this last 6 weeks was very difficult. Unfortunately, what had a big effect was that last day, which was the added day of instruction to make up the day. The campuses came in at 70% or lower because it was the last day of school. That certainly affected the percentage. Now, having said that, we would have still considered maintained the same downward trend that we had So we definitely have a need to improve upon attendance, and that's a presentation that I want Dr. Garza to make, unless y'all have specific questions about the report that I sent with the board update this weekend.
Any questions for Dr. Garza or Dr. Rios?
I've got no questions about the attendance report other than that last day. That last day is curious. Would you do, so I think that had to do with the fact that it was on Monday, is that right?
It was on Monday, and it was an added day. Everybody had planned on finishing school the day of graduation, but we had that
Makeup day for a
makeup
power
day
day.
where we lost a power outage.
So that was a not plannable issue, yeah.
Now, the other point I wanted to make, obviously, we're concerned about funding and the lower attendance, the lower the funding. We're still concerned about attendance, but funding is not affected in this case because they allow us to discount the two lowest 6 weeks in our average. And this last 6 weeks was definitely our lowest 6 weeks, so that wouldn't be counted in the formula for funding. So we don't have to worry about losing funds because of that rule that the state has, but we still obviously have to worry about improving attendance. And we've had enough conversations about how to address it, and that's what Dr. Garza will begin to present today.
Mr. Mesa?
And that's mainly my concern. The elementary schools are maintaining pretty much same percentages, but I think, for looking forward for next year, middle school through secondary needs to improve their attendance rates. That's it.
The last slide is the one that really talks about the overall improvement, but this other one seeks to answer some of the questions that came up with the optional flexible school day program. So I'll ask Dr. Garza if it's okay with you, Madam President, to continue his presentation.
If so pleases the board, yes? All right, let's proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Last month's presentation, there was some discussion trying to see if we could put this data in some kind of format where it would go in a pie chart. And we did send this in an update, or Dr. Rios sent this in an update.
No, we just have a question. I mean, it's not specifically on our agenda, but this is tied to attendance, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, ma'am.
just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
So, going back to last month's presentation, we went out there to the freshman, to the high school campus, trying to figure out some case studies. At the high school in particular, there was 169 students for the fourth 6 weeks, and we wanted to see what kind of attendance they had or why they were being absent. And this chart shows you, as I stated earlier, was sent to you in one of the board updates, and it's evident one of the biggest problems is 49% in truancy, students not just coming to school. Of course, there's the other ones, chronic illness, runaway, teen pregnancy, working student. This is at the high school. At the freshman campus, once again, the biggest issue is truancy, students not wanting to come to school. But also they have the teen, parent, child care, pregnant, working student, runaway, or a student that just does not want to come to school. Now, on these cases in themselves, we try to figure out what is it that would happen if we would try to bring 50% of the students, 169 at the high school and 40 at the freshman campus. If we would just bring 50% of them back per 6 weeks, that would be the difference in the attendance. From 92%, 92.21% at the high school to 96.15%. And at the freshman school, from 93.77 to 96.51. Now, there is some process for us to get there, and that's the explanation that we're going to talk about here on the next slide, which is the optional flexible school day program. There were several questions sent to us by several board members, and so I'm going to discuss those first. Are the students who have excessive absences withdrawn from school after attempts to get them to attend school regularly? Currently only, and the answer is currently only students who are 18 years of age or older are dropped for persistent or excessive absences. As proposed in the Student Attendance Accounting Handbook, the non-traditional programs, one of the goals for the optional flexible school day program is to target students who are unable to or unwilling to attend school in a traditional setting. And question number 2 is, are students given a chance to come back to school? The answer is yes. To our knowledge, we have never denied any student the opportunity to return to school. And number 3 is, how much does it cost this district when students do not come to school? At an average rate, it's $32 per day. And one of the other questions is, how is BCFS involved in contacts? There were 126 cases reported throughout the district from different campuses. I tried to get specifics from BCFS, and they for some reason could not give me specifics by campus. Now, I will tell you that out of these 126 cases, none of them are for truancy. Okay, last year we had several for truancy, but the JP was sending these cases to BCFS. Several campuses did report it to BCFS, but of the 126, none of them were truancy. Now we go back to the optional flexible day. A student is eligible to participate in an optional flexible school day program under the Texas Education Code, subsection 29.0822, if the student meets one of the following conditions. Student is at risk of dropping out of school, or the student is attending a school implementing an approved innovative campus plan, or the student is attending the early college high school, or the student, as a result of attendance requirements under the Texas Education Code, subsection 25.092, will be denied credit for one or more classes which the student has been enrolled. The optional flexible school day program provides flexible hours and days of attendance for students in any grade who have dropped out of school or are at risk of dropping out, or as a result of attendance requirement under the Texas Education Code 25.092, will be denied credit for one or more classes. Now the goals of this program are to, number 1, is to improve graduation rates, because that's really what we want to do, for students who are in danger of dropping out of school or have dropped out or who have been behind in the core area courses. And number 2 is to target those students who are unable to attend school in a traditional setting, for example, because the student must seek employment or to support their families, must provide child care during traditional school hours, or other extenuating circumstances. Under these circumstances, the student might only be able to attend school during evening hours or for a couple of hours during the day. And number 3, I don't know why that shows number 1, the program offers students an opportunity to recover credits that otherwise might be denied because of failure to meet attendance requirements. And who is, if they do participate, what kind of schedule will they have? Well, one is flexible schedules. The other one is classes offered throughout the school year and summer school, or weekend or night classes, for example, at the end of the day, extended day classes, or credit recovery classes. These classes can be offered during the summer recess for students who have not earned full ADA during the school year. A student cannot earn more than the equivalent of one ADA in the year. And the funding is based on the total eligible minutes of instructional time each student receives. A student must receive instruction in the program at least 45 minutes on a given day for instructional contact time and funding to be recorded. The maximum number of instructional minutes allowed each school day is 600 minutes or 10 hours. Instructional contact time for the program is funded at the same rate under the Foundation School Program formulas as attendance for a full-time equivalent student. A full-time equivalent student is expected to have 720 instructional contact hours per year, which is equivalent to 43,200 minutes. And how will we monitor this? Well, a principal or designee will monitor the campus program. A committee consisting of an administrator, counselor, and teacher will identify the students using different data, which will include credits and absences they had the previous year. The committee will meet with the student and family before the school year starts and every 6 weeks thereafter. They will focus on the following. They will create a targeted individual plan, review student absences to identify patterns and possible related causes, such as school climate factors, environmental factors, health factors, or transportation. They will review students' behavior patterns. They will also create a schedule that will most likely help the student gain credits. Monitoring the student's targeted individual plan, a counselor and parent liaison will monitor attendance daily. An administrator will meet with a counselor and parent liaison weekly to review each student's progress with attendance for credits, grades, behavior, and parent communication, and identify possible makeup time due to absences. And of course, we will adjust the student's targeted individual plan, review grades, attendance, behavior, social issues, and adjust accordingly. And at the end, we will generate the 6 weeks report to see what the student progress is. Now, TEA does require some progress review, and this is extracted from TEA. It says, annually, each school district shall review its progress in relation to the performance indicators required by this subsection. Progress should be assessed based on information that is desegregated with respect to race, ethnicity, gender, and socioeconomic status. And then A school district must include high school graduation as one of the performance indicators for students participating in the program. And B, a school district operating in the program for a campus will select and report student performance indicators appropriately to the population being served. The selected performance indicators must measure student achievement, student assessment administration, and student attendance accounting process and procedures on an annual basis. And here are the possible solutions. One, of course, for us to improve attendance is the optional flexible day. The other one that has been presented to you in another meeting was the capturing kids' hearts. The other one, which Dr. Rios has brought up, that was also heard from the students, Superintendent's Students Advisory Committee, which is the Open Campus Perfect Attendance. And then the next one is incorporating more counseling with PFCS and possibly hiring a couple of retiring teachers to work at home on home visits and attendance. Are there any questions?
Okay, we've heard the presentation. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I've got a few.
Mr. Smith?
I've got a few. Okay, my first question is, and before I get into the questions, I applaud the effort of trying to improve attendance and get our graduation rates up. So,
Yes, sir.
the first question is, as you go and assess, is there some type of application form that you're going to expect from the student and the student's parent to get into this program?
Yes, sir, there is. There is a targeted individual plan that will be used by us to make sure that the student understands what the requirements are to stay in the program. So we'll identify the students from the previous year's attendance and credits, and then at that point, we will bring them in. The counselor, the principal, the teachers will meet with the parents and identify the criteria that is necessary for them to stay in the program.
Okay, so it's more of the administration offering the program to the student with the problem, and then they've got an application that they're going to fill out based off of that.
It's not necessarily an application, sir. We will identify the students ourselves, and the actual form that they'll use is the criteria that is necessary for them to stay in the program, monitored by the counselors and the administrators.
And the criteria is based off of a teenage mother or those kind of things, not just because I didn't.
Right, that is part of it, that there is some responsibility on their part but it's also responsibility on our part, trying to figure out how we get them to achieve credits, because that's really what we want to do, for them to achieve credits.
Absolutely. So once they get into the program and they still have chronic attendance issues, do they just get pulled out of the program and put into the normal environment?
The process for this program will work very much like our special education program. You know, we don't offer all of the most restrictive environment immediately. We start with the least restrictive, and then we awfully adjust as the student's needs become greater. So the more the student is absent, therefore the more monitoring that he or she would require. So we would bring them into school more, and we would limit the flexibility in the optional flexible school day program. But to answer the initial question, if a student would want to self-refer for this program, we have other programs in the district that would meet those needs. For example, the non-traditional high school that we're opening at Blended here in August. So if a student says, yeah, you know, I like this optional flexible school day program, like, well, no, you really don't qualify because you don't meet the criteria that the state has set up. You're not an at-risk student, you haven't dropped out, so no, you can't self-refer to the program.
Okay.
But if you want a non-traditional setting, well, we have the Blended Academy at, on Garfield Street or Las Vacas Street.
Okay, the next question that I've got is tied to these, some of this would be after-hours classes. And does it take a minimum amount of students to represent this after-hours class that's going to be offered to cover this special group of kids?
Historically, the school district has required from different times 8 or 10 students to make an after-school session, so that if we were paying the teacher $25 an hour, we can justify it based on that enrollment that we set up. For the optional flexible school day program, because we have students coming after hours to labs, Plato labs, we will have no problem meeting that minimum requirement of students. We would never have one teacher, one student after school hours unless we were trying to help somebody graduate the following week, and then obviously we would make some adjustments. But in this case, because they're working on a computer-based program a lot of times after school, it would not meet a problem, it wouldn't be a problem meeting the number of students per teacher.
Okay. And then, I don't know if maybe I missed it, but how, if a student does not improve, will they remain in that for that duration of the semester or year, or do you pull them out and just put them back in the normal program?
I don't know that we would immediately put them back in the normal program, but through the presentation, Dr. Garza did have a slide about the committee that would meet and evaluate each individual student. So if your optional flexible school day program involves coming half a day, and you're still not improving your attendance, then we would decrease the flexibility that you have, and eventually, after different meetings and different restrictions, you would revert back to coming a full day, because at the end, we couldn't prove to the state that we're being successful with your target improvement plan.
And that would go to the whole group in this case study. If it doesn't prove viable, eventually the program would either stay and refine or just go away.
Absolutely. We would take it on a case-by-case basis after every meeting, but then we would summarize in aggregate the effectiveness of the program before we reapply it.
Yeah, and that was what we talked about in the last meeting, the tool to measure that against. What will be the tool to measure that against?
There's a couple of things, and as we go to develop the program, we obviously have to list these things. The summative evaluation is obviously the number of students graduating. Are we improving or decreasing the number of students that are leaving school or being withdrawn administratively for excessive absences?
Yep.
Beyond that, the student assessment. We can't offer you a flexible school day program, but then you're not passing the state assessments. That's not good. Obviously, the number of attendance, the behavior while you're at school, all the items that Dr. Garza mentioned, we would turn all of those into metrics so that we can measure the effectiveness, again, on a case-by-case basis for those 6 weeks meetings and in the aggregate at the semester and at the end of the year.
Yeah, your graduation rate would maybe not necessarily improve year one because these kids may take a couple of years additional to get their degree, right?
Yes, sir.
That's all the questions I can think to ask right now.
Any other questions? Mr. Chavita?
Dr. Garza, is this optional flexible school day program, is there other programs somewhere in the state like similar to this one?
Oh, yes, sir. There is applications all over the state. It doesn't require it's not a grant. It doesn't require any timeline for it to be there, but yes, there is other schools out there. I don't have it in my head of what schools are using it, but there is a lot of flexibility. I mean, a lot of schools are using it.
And have they had a lot of success with it?
Yes, sir. The graduation has increased. So actually, I do have one. There is a school in the valley that has improved graduation because they've used this program. They've been flexible with it. So yes, there is an improvement with graduation.
And I can see the opportunities that the kid would have, working around the flexible day. But my biggest question is, or my concern, the students behind, to start out with, most of them, the ones that probably were qualified for it, how can we assure that those kids will get the 45 minutes of instructional,
Right.
just to keep on tab, much less, catching up type of thing? How are we going to assure, I know that you mentioned something about
Right.
teachers being available at all times of the day. How,
Well, what would happen is the parent liaison and the counselor are going to be checking on the 50 students, or like at the freshman campus, 20 students daily. That has to be in place. They're not going to use a all call. They're going to go to that teacher specifically and see if the student is there, because it does require a teacher to keep track of this so that we can report it back to the state. It is a paper and pencil situation where there'll be a first period teacher or a third period teacher, whatever teacher we select. When the student is not there and not having contact hours, that call will immediately be given back to the counselor or to the principal, and there'll be communication with the parent. That's where Dr. Drew was saying, this is not like an art committee, but it is a committee to figure out if the criteria that we set for this student is really proper for them. So there will be constant communication for that. The other issue that could happen is that a student, if they don't necessarily show up for those 45 minutes on Monday, for example, they still have an opportunity to show up on Thursday, for example, after school in the Plato lab, and make up the time that they missed for that third period class on Tuesday. If you notice, I said a student cannot be at school more than 10 hours. So they would actually make up whatever they missed throughout the week within that time frame that we set up, because that was in the criteria on the targeted individual plan.
yeah, I can see that. And the other thing, my last question, on the possible solution that you have towards the end of the program, says the optional flexible school day, and then the other programs, do we in some way incorporate all the other solutions that you mentioned? Is
Well,
it possible? The reason I'm saying this because I like what was being said about capturing the kids' heart. I think that's very important. I think we discussed it, and I think that it's, some way of giving another tool to our teachers to reach a kid. But I would really like the last one there, possibly hiring, because I have mentioned it to Dr. Rios some time ago, about hiring more counselors, because it's almost impossible to do it with the counselors we have right now, the number of counselors that we have. I think we need additional counselors, and that would be another solution to reach our kids.
To answer the question specifically, what we've listed as possible solutions, our intention is to address different segments of the population. When we look at the optional flexible school day, we're not talking about the student that has 3 to 10 absences per year. Optional flexible school day specifically targeting students who are at risk of not graduating, the people that were identified in the case studies that we had. When we look at, go back to the slide, Dr. Garza, when we look at capturing kids' hearts, well, we're looking at everybody on a daily basis. Anybody who has anywhere from 1 to 10 absences, we're just looking to have them more connected to the school, to decrease their absences. Obviously, when we look at open campus for perfect attendance, we want to increase the number of kids that have perfect attendance. Incorporating BFCS is probably about the kids that have more than 10 absences, but not quite needing to go to optional flexible school day. In other words, we still want to keep them, our goal is to keep most of our students in the traditional program so they can stay involved in other activities, but may have other issues going on at home. And then on the hiring the couple of retired counselors to specifically focus on just making home visits, we're again talking about those kids that have probably gone over 7 absences. So our goal is to address every segment of the population so that to make sure that we don't only pay attention to the kid that's really in trouble, but also pay attention to that kid that can have perfect attendance and is one of our stellar performers. Now, on the open campus for perfect attendance, we have to go visit with some high school teachers and specifically some parents, because we have certain parameters. The parents need to know that it's really their choice. Their child can have perfect attendance, but if the parent says, oh no, my child has perfect attendance, we'll require to have perfect attendance, but I don't want them going off campus. Well, it's still, the parent's still gonna have the last word. So again, we're trying to address everybody at the school, not just the at-risk child.
Mr. Mesa?
One of my concerns is that minimum 45 minutes a day for funding to be recorded and instructional period. Because I'm having trouble rationalizing the work that will be given to these students when they're at risk. Normally, they're provided additional tutoring after school beyond the day. And so if it's going to prolong the time to get that diploma, there's higher chances that the student is not going to come back, for an extended period beyond the regular school year. 45 minutes for an at-risk student is just not enough instructional time, for credit accrual. I'm having difficulty with that.
And I think that if we take the statement at its face value, just say 45 minutes, I hope that doesn't imply to anyone that everybody's going to be on a 45-minute plan. But when you have a student who has dropped out and we're trying to ease him or her back into the school system and experience success, we're going to start in small increments. I would venture to say that students on a 45-minute plan per day are going to be the exception rather than the rule. I see half-day for students as being a starting point. It's only the most disengaged students that we want to slowly ease them back into the program. And for those individual students, well, the pendulum would swing backwards. They would, as they become more successful and start to appreciate and enjoy school more, we would increase their hours as they begin to see hope for graduation. But again, we certainly apologize if we led everyone to believe that that's where we start out. That's just the minimum for that really at-risk student that we're trying to bring back in. I will say, and I meant to say this at the beginning, I think that over the last, I'm certain that over the last 15 or 20 years, the state has held LEAs to a more accountable system, bringing in more students. And we've certainly increased our efforts to bring in dropout students and have more options for students to stay in school, whether it be through credit recovery, different types of programs. But as we've brought in more at-risk students, we really haven't had or we haven't implemented the programs that the state makes available. So as the state has held us more accountable for being more inclusive, they've also offered programs to help with the accountability of these students, and we haven't fully taken advantage of them. Optional flexible school day is one of them that we like to incorporate as a resource for our students.
Any other questions? Mr. Overfelt?
Going back to attendance and how it's all going to be paper and pencil and stuff like that on there, because it'll be a different set reporting time. You said if they, as an example, or maybe I didn't understand, they miss the day or they come in for Play-Doh in the evening. State of Texas is closed at 5 p.m. So how do we double count the next day? I don't understand how we double count after the day's over, or how we count it after the day's over.
We submit attendance obviously on a daily basis, but we can always go back and correct the attendance. So as long as it's correct before the pink snapshot date. If we do that when we mark students present in error or mark them absent in error.
Okay.
And for them, they'd have a total minute plan that we would submit differently anyhow.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Josh pointed out that because we are going to be voting on agenda item that addresses this flexible program, 11D, would it be okay for everyone to just take that vote now so that we don't forget from now till then what the discussion was?
Unless you're going to present an entirely different set of information.
No, sir. No, I'm not.
Is everybody okay with that? Okay.
I'll just find the page.
188. And that's under curriculum and instruction, 11D as in Delta.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir?
Do I read the recommendation?
Yes, sir, please do.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve for the superintendent and school board president to sign the application to TEA for the optional flexible school day program on behalf of the Blended Academy, Del Rio High School, and Del Rio Freshman School.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Chavita, second by myself. Any further questions, discussion? All in favor? 5 opposed? 2, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, we'll proceed with E, Facilities and Construction Report. Mr. Israel Carrera.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Before I get started, I'm going to hand out these timeline projects.
Mr. Carrera has to distribute his own materials.
Yes, sir.
Those will be, on the last presentation, the board member asked for, they couldn't read the project timeline, so I gave you a copy of those when we get to them. The first one we have is the Del Rio Freshman ramp and landscape. We're about finished. We still lack some landscaping at the front office, and we still lack the rail on the upper left-hand corner. That's the handicap ramp, and I don't recall the building, but C building comes to mind, that ramp. And then the picture on the right we laid some sod because the ground, the dirt was deteriorating. And so they replaced the dirt and then put some sod down. And then on the bottom left-hand corner is the same. We had the dirt was deteriorating and we put sod. Then to the right shows how far we came out on the sod to keep that from deteriorating. Next is Del Rio Blended Academy. On the far upper left-hand corner, we're building the sidewalk that'll go around the building and to the parking lot to the left. And then the upper right-hand corner is they're starting to build the sidewalk and the walkway where we're going to build the canopy from building I and J. And then the left-hand corner is where the canopy is going to go in the sidewalk. Then the bottom right-hand corner is the new driveway that we'll have into the campus. Those are the Del Rio Blended Academy, and you have copies of those. They should be in order. Then the Gerardo J. Maldonado Career and Technical Education Center under construction. On the upper left-hand corner, they're starting to put the beams for the roof on the mechanical side, the auto mechanics, and also also started the robotics side also to put the beams to start the roofing. The middle picture is the driveway on Main Street, and then on the right-hand top corner is the brick that's going up in the front. And then on the bottom left-hand corner is also the brick that's going on the left-hand side. The whole front will be bricked, and then as you come to the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see that paneling that'll go up on the side of the building and in the back. And then in the middle, you see they have hung where the clouds will be installed. Again, you have a copy of the timeline of the project. Then the Student Activity Administration Center. Of course, the top is the auditorium. They've completed the seats and installing the seats in the upper and lower deck. Then on the bottom left and right is the left side of the upper level and the right side of the upper level. And it's pretty much complete. They have a few minor touch-ups, and of course you have the timeline and projects, and that is the end of the update. Is there any questions?
Israel, can you go back one slide, please? Madam President, if I can just make a comment. We're going to visit with the board to see if that dedication day is acceptable to everyone. That's August 2nd. It's tentative, but we'll be visiting with y'all sometime before you go home today to see if that works for everybody.
Okay, Mr. Overfelt did have a question.
On the CTE facility, I've been driving by it on the way to work every morning, and on the masonry, the bricking on outside, it's gone up and it's gotten to a point, and now they're coming in and they're dropping something from the top that looks like just a brick-looking veneer there. What is that that's going in right now?
The brick on the front of the building, the brick will go up to the windows, up to the very top windows.
Can you pull the picture of the... No, we were looking at the
CTE. You're looking at the side on the bottom right-hand corner. That's the side of the building that they're putting that you're talking about, but it's not going to go on the front of the building.
Can you go back one more?
That's it.
To the artist conception. So on the front of the building that fronts 10th, it's bricking all the way up to
Yes.
the very top.
Yes, that's correct.
And on the side, on the Main Street side, is it bricking only to the windows and then it's veneer?
On the side of it?
Uh-huh.
Yes, on 10th Street, yes, you are correct. It'll come up with veneer.
Why are we doing that? We were led to believe it was going to be bricked all the way around.
When we, I'm sure that if we go back and we look at the value engineering to try to maintain the cost to a certain level, I'll have to check if that was cut out or if that's the way it was presented from the beginning. But if it was presented from the beginning, then it would have been a value engineering decision to save on cost. But I'll have to go back and check to see if that was the initial design or did we VE it afterwards.
It's my understanding that, talking to PBK, that it was originally that way. I will give you an update once I talk to PBK.
I'd be very curious because the two buildings across the street here that are using almost that exact same color match go all the way around, and they're almost the exact same square footage as what we're building out here for far less money than what this is being built for. And there, so okay.
If you would follow up, that'd
I
be
will.
great.
Yes,
Any other questions, comments?
Just one.
Mr. Smith?
We've got an agenda item on the lift for the automotive CTE group. Is that right?
That is
Yes, sir, we
correct.
do. It's a consent
And-
agenda.
It's not in here. Are there other things that are like that that are kind of infrastructure relations that are not in the?
Yes, sir. First off, the agenda item that you referred to, we are going to table that because of what I mentioned in the board update, and we're going to bring it back in 10 days when we have another board workshop / meeting. We also have a RFP out right now to have someone come in and help us move all the equipment, especially in CT and welding. There is some very heavy equipment that our own maintenance department doesn't have the capability to move. So we'll be bringing that RFP hopefully within the next 20 days, awarded so we can have some assistance in moving all the other heavy material. Right now, I think that two of our staff members need together to finalize everything that has to get moved, and we expect to issue that RFP this week.
I do have one question. The work that's being done by the city in the area, no negative impact on our part? It's not slowing anything down?
No, ma'am.
That's
No.
great. Thank you. All right, any other questions? I think we're done. Thank you. Moving down to the consent agenda. Does anybody wish to pull any of the items out?
Just to be clear, I'm sorry, just to be clear, we're tabling C6?
No, I believe Ms. Yanakani Valdez clarified that we would not be tabling that. Is that, I'm
That is
confused.
correct.
Okay. I did too, I thought so originally.
Thank you. At your seat, you have an updated bid with the correction of the award being issued to Napa. So consent items under consent C, this is the update, and all of these can be approved. And the item that will be pulled is the purchase order over 25, which is letter F6.
That's what you said, right?
That will be pulled. The purchase order over 25.
So the kind of broad bid is to be approved, which is C6, but the specific will be,
F6. So we're approving the bid process, but then we're tabling the
actual
actual
award.
award.
The
Because
purchase
the
order over
change.
25, yes.
F6, okay.
Dr. Rios, you were going to say you wanted to pull something, or was that?
No,
it?
that was going to repeat exactly what was said.
Okay.
Okay, we're on it. Any other issues, questions? Okay. So at this time, do we have a motion to approve all the consent agenda items?
So move.
We have Mr. Overfelt, second by myself. Any questions, Concerns? You have a question?
No.
Okay. All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. That takes us to number 10. Under administration. Before we move on, though, we would like to thank our donors. And I know we have a long list, but Ms. Valdez has managed to consolidate some of that for Ms. Haynes.
Thank you. The monetary donations, Texas A&M University, $500, Del Rio freshman. The Geo Group Foundation, $11,000, Del Rio High School senior scholarships. Multiple donations, $1,200, Del Rio High School Aircraft Tech Club. Chick-fil-A, $209.79 to Del Rio High School bells. Multiple donations, $1,000, Del Rio High School JROTC. Schulman, Lopez, Hoffer, and Alistine or Stein, $1,200, Del Rio High School Metal Trades. Box Tops for Education, $719.60, multiple campuses. Live Touch National School Studios, $3,724.74, multiple campuses. Target Take Charge of Education, $84.37, multiple campuses. Multiple donations, $465, Lamar Elementary. Multiple donations, $923, Lamar Elementary Choir. Multiple donations, $7,459.35, Teacher Appreciation. Multiple donations, $511.96, Food Services Banquet. And the last, Texas State Teachers Association, 5 $10 gift cards valued at $50, San Felipe Del Rio CISD Wellness Event. Thank you for the donations.
Thank you to everybody for being so generous. Now moving on to 10A, consideration to approve the implementation of a Facility Projects and Operations Citizens Committee for the review of current and future facility projects. Dr. Carlos Rios.
Madam President, members of the board, over the last 3 years, we've assembled 2 citizens committees, and they've made their recommendations. The first recommendation from the first Citizens Committee described the construction that is currently undergoing with a $25 million from fund balance that you allocated. The second Facilities Committee took off from where the first committee left off and talked about additional elementary campus, the location of these campuses, and even the grade configuration. Because we're coming to an end of the $25 million construction, we need to begin to review the 5, 10, 15-year construction plan and make recommendations to this board. Do we want to build one elementary? Do we want to build 2 elementaries at a time? Or do we not want to build them? There's other projects, for example, now that CT is moving out, there's a whole wing that is going to be empty. What is it that we want to do with that wing? Now, certainly, we have some ideas as administration, but it's really for the citizens of this community to weigh in on how that's going to look and the future. There's different renovations. For example, as beautiful as Buena Vista looks, it is our second oldest campus if we look at how they've been touched and remodeled. And there's a need there. There's just a whole lot of needs. We have a list of them, and we would like for each board member to nominate or to name 2 individuals to serve on this committee. We would then take 1 representative from each campus to make sure that no campus's individual or particular needs were not addressed. After this committee reviews everything, we would then make recommendations to the board in workshops that we hope to schedule with the board in September. But I think that before we get to that point, it's important to bring the community together and weigh in on these items. I know that you guys, the board has approved, for example, the hiring of an architect that has helped us do cost analysis on certain projects. You've approved hiring a civil engineer who's evaluating 3 properties for for future elementary campuses. And we'd like to present all that to a committee and eventually make recommendations to this board in September.
Any questions? Mr. Mesa?
I just want to thank Dr. Rios. I think this is long overdue in regard to facilities recommendation because of the fact that we have plenty of campuses that are not being utilized and perhaps either trade off some property or just plan for the future. So I know that this plan will have a 5, 10, 15-year plan, and will come with eventually the recommendation from this committee. So I applaud your efforts.
Thank you, Mr. Mesa. Any other comments, recommendations, sir?
Madam President, it's the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the implementation of the San Felipe Del Rio CISD Facility Projects and Operations Committee as presented.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Okay, Mr. Oberfeld, second by Mr. Chavira. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. Second item is consideration to approve the golf course interlocal agreement with the City of Del Rio. Again, Dr. Carlos Rios.
Madam President, members of the board, over the past few months, the board's council has been working with the city attorney to develop a MOU for the use of the golf course. We have come to an agreement and are looking, we presented that in the board update as well as in the packet, and we feel that it's a fair agreement to both parties, and we're presenting that for your approval.
Is this,
Mr. Smith has questions?
is this specifically tied to the golf program here at for the golf team?
It's exclusive to the golf team.
And how many students are participating in that program?
I am going to put Coach Smith on the spot.
Okay.
Coach Smith, if you'll come to the podium.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Smith is asking how many students approximately, I know that you don't have the exact number, but if we could tell them boys and girls.
Approximately 25 to 30 athletes in the golf program right now.
Okay, so we're talking about $1,000 a kid.
Pretty much, right. And it's year-round. It's not starting when school starts and ending when school ends. It's a year-round access.
So the students have year-round access even if their instructor is not with them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Chavira?
Coach, how many times do they practice every day? The golf teams?
During the school year, pretty much every day.
Pretty much.
Yes, sir.
And the other thing, I just want to add that since the city took over the golf course, we just had a tournament for the San Felipe Independent School, well, for the San Felipe Lions Club.
Right.
And it's better organized, the carts are outside, everything is just waiting for you. So I tell you what, it's, whatever money we're gonna be paying, it's well worth it.
I totally agree.
I do have a couple comments, and that's only the concern of having students out there unsupervised. I mean, I believe it's going to be difficult to have someone supervise them whenever it's open, because it basically reads that a student can go out there at any time. That's the way I've read it. So what are the liability issues with students who I know in the past have used the golf carts and
Well, they're not allowed to use the carts.
Okay.
Everything is walking,
They
carrying
never have,
the
sir.
bags. Right. They all are knowledgeable in the golf etiquette that goes
Right.
along with the sport. So if you play golf, I don't, but know people that do, that there are certain guidelines that you have to follow in order to be on the course. And I believe our kids are well-behaved young men and young ladies, and, are going to follow all the rules that are set in place, not only by this MOU, but by our new golf pro there that kind of monitors things. So
Okay.
they're not really completely unsupervised, but they do have access to play pretty much at any time of the day and anywhere on the golf course.
And do non-high school students use the golf course as well?
Not as part of this MOU. It's exclusive
Just high
to the
school
golf
for
team.
the team?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a golf class that has students in it that perhaps aren't part of the golf team?
No.
No,
They
okay.
have to be a part of the actual golf team in order to be a part of the usage of the course.
Okay.
There is a list in the pro office that they have to check in, make sure they're on the list, plus each one has an ID card
All right.
if they're ever asked, to present that.
Okay. Just want to make sure. I do have concerns about the kids being unsupervised.
I had a question.
Mr. Mesa?
Coach Smith, how was the issue on the selling of alcohol resolved?
My understanding is that it's going to be sold there. But what I've gathered from all the other municipal courses in our district as well as the surrounding area, that it's the same situation for them. That, most of these courses do offer alcohol sales where the kids come and practice.
That was my only concern, and there will be somebody there that will be running the program in regard to, from the city aspect, but it's hard to be with each group that is there, so there's got to be some plan devised because of the alcohol. And
Well, August through the end of May, we have our coaching staff there that are monitoring all of our kids that are out there. Now, June through July, we hope they're responsible, and we think they are, that we're not going to have, an issue. I'm guessing you're meaning these athletes
yes,
consuming alcohol, or?
that was my concern.
Right.
Well, with perhaps someone, an adult buying the alcohol and then perhaps, abusing of that privilege and somehow,
Sure.
just,
Somewhere out on the course.
Right.
yeah, it's a big course out
I
there.
do. I understand your concern, yeah.
That's all. Thank you.
And then just one other question, and just because I'm having a discussion here with Dr. Rios. On page 2 of the agreement, it refers to, and it's 4.3, it refers to in addition to non-school related permitted uses. I don't see why we would have non-school related uses for the agreement. I mean, I would think they're all school related, right?
Should be, yes.
That's,
Just want to make sure that's clarified.
yes, ma'am. Ms. Valdez, the correction that we sent with the board update, was that specific to 4.3?
It was specific to 4.1, sir. On 4.1, the original 4.1, after the fee included the word non-school related, and that was what was removed on this edited version. So this line should have been removed as well.
So we'll correct 4.3 as well, and,
And wherever else it might be, because
yes,
Okay.
I don't want to own that piece too.
correct.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Recommendation?
Madam President, members of the board, it is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve for the superintendent to sign the interlocal agreement with the corrections as discussed with the City of Del Rio for the use of the San Felipe Springs Golf Course.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Chavita, second by Mr. Overfelt. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. C, consideration to approve board resolutions which identify and support the advocacy priorities for presentation to the TASB Delegate Assembly as part of the advocacy agenda at the TASB Convention this fall. Ms. Gonzalez? And Dr. Rios?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Mesa made a presentation, Board Member Mesa made a presentation a couple months ago regarding the grassroots effort, and then we worked with the board to provide input to a resolution. Board Member Gonzalez provided significant input, which we took and drafted a resolution, and we presented it for your approval. Are there any specific questions? I don't think that at this point we need to read the entire advocacy resolution. It's been presented, but I can if that's the wishes of the board.
I think we've all had an opportunity to review the resolution. Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez, for writing that for us. I think Mr. Mesa made an awesome, excellent presentation about a month ago about how important it is that we actually do put a resolution together and forward that on to the state. So the recommendation, please, sir.
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the proposed resolutions in support of the advocacy priorities as presented.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to accept? Mr. Overfelt, second by Mr. Mesa. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. Under Curriculum and Instruction, A, consideration to approve the new career and technical education courses offered at Delray High School, starting with the 2016-17 school year. Mr. Roger Gonzalez.
President Martinez Lozano, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. CTE, again, wants to increase our offerings at Del Rio High School. The first course is Graphic Design and Illustration. This is part of the Arts AV Technology cluster, and it will be offered in grades level 10 through 12. In continuing with our trades and industry, as offerings to trade and industry, we do want to offer the HVAC program. The first course actually starts as a sophomore, starting this year in trades and industry, continuing with advanced HVAC in 11th, and the practicum course will continue as a senior. This is actually in collaboration with a junior college. So these are specialized technical classes offered through our HVAC-R program as dual credit offerings in collaboration with the junior college. Students are to complete the 3-year program will be eligible to receive industry certificates, including the OSHA, Career Safe, and EPA 608 that are used by the AC technology individuals. So also, they're eligible for the 1-year certificate in air conditioning through the junior college.
Any questions? Mr. Smith?
Will the kids that are in this HVAC program, will they be able to support the school district in some of their needs?
We want to definitely have that opportunity for them to do a practicum program once they become seniors.
Okay.
And job shadow or indifferent also work with the local stakeholders as well.
So if we've got aged units for replacement, maybe these students can go in and do those replacements versus hiring a contractor to do it?
Yes, sir. We currently in the district have a program for student employment, and it's seniors. So we definitely see that as a possibility. We'd, of course, have to work with the local maintenance department because they would be supervising the students. But that is certainly a possibility. And I'll be honest with you, we hadn't had that discussion, but it's very doable because we do hire plenty of students to work half a day.
Mr. Mesa?
Mr. Gonzalez, I just want to thank you for bringing these courses to add to our certifications. I think tonight was a perfect example of what your program is doing for our youth, that they can support themselves and pay their tuition if they so wish to attend and further their education in the areas that they're being certified. So
Thanks, sir.
I just want to thank you again for bringing more courses to the edit.
Thank you.
Okay, ready for the recommendation, Mr. Gonzalez? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chavita has a question or a
No, I
comment?
just wanted to ask, I think you said they'll be able to, would it be licensed or be ready to go out into workforce, or just what is it, the certification about?
It's a certification program like the other CT courses. I think Mr. Gonzalez would be better equipped to actually name the certification that they would receive.
They, during their sophomore year, they will be getting OSHA Career Safe, which is actually throughout our CT programs. But during their junior year, they get the EPA 608, which actually is a certification for industry involving the HVAC program. So along with that, they're going to get the one-year certificate. We're hoping that employers actually look at the two certifications, and that kind of gets them into the entry-level positions.
I see. Okay.
Okay. Recommendation?
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve this new CT courses available to Del Rio High School students as presented.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Chavita, second by Mr. Mesa. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. B is consideration to approve the 2016-17 academic off-site dual credit partnership agreement between San Felipe Del Rio CISD and Angelo State University, Dr. Jorge Garza.
Thank you, ma'am. Members of the board, we're here to renew the MOU that we currently have with San Angelo State University. We offer several courses with them. Public speaking that matches with professional communications. We also have English composition writing across the curriculum, which matches with English 4. We have history of of the United States, 1865 history, and all the way to the present, which matches with our U.S. history, and we have federal and state government, which also matches with U.S. government. So we're here to renew the MOU that we currently have with them.
Mr. Overfelt has a question.
I'm looking at the courses that we do through ASU and then the ones through Southwest Texas Junior College that you sent on the update there. And the question is, they're the ones that are whatever through ASU, they're history 1301 and 2, government 05, communication and English 1301 and 1302 there. Is ASU the only ones offering that dual credit, or do we have people who also offer that through the junior college?
Mr. Overfeld, the agreement that we reached with the junior college is that as students move through the early college high school, we would work as much as possible exclusively with the junior college because they do offer these courses as well. And our MOU is with the junior college. But for students who are not in the early college high school, where Angelo State offers a course, we will offer that at the high school. And it mainly had to do with the no tuition and significant stipend that they provide our teachers.
So those 4 courses that are designed for those who aren't in the early college, high school, going down that program there. This past year, did we have good enrollment numbers in those? I mean, it was enough to re-up the MOU?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Any further questions? The recommendation, please.
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the academic off-site dual credit partnership agreement with Angelo State University as presented. Allow Dr. Rios to sign the agreement and pay the invoice when due.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Mesa, second by Mr. Overfelt. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the consideration to approve the 2016-2017 on-ramps cooperative program agreement between San Felipe Del Rio CISD and the University of Texas at Austin to teacher, I think that means to teach pre-calculus as a dual credit course.
Yes, ma'am. We have a great opportunity also to open up a partnership with the University of Texas. We are only offering pre-calculus. This came about because there was some discussion with our high school principal, Dr. Sally Zuniga Barrera, and some of our teachers, and trying to figure out if we could teach certain courses. So we're going to pilot, or we're trying to recommend, or we're going to recommend to you, see if we can teach pre-calculus class. Now, what this entails is our instructors would go through a summer intensive professional development with the University of Texas. It would cost $1,750, but all that would be reimbursed. We would actually not spend any money on that professional development. It would also cost $295 per student to be enrolled in the class, but that also would not cost us any money because there is a HB1 Article 359, which is an appropriations bill by the legislature that passed this past session that actually has some communication between University of Texas and TEA. So it wouldn't cost us anything. And the other great benefit on this is that it doesn't take the SAC certification or SAC credential. It's the Southern Association of Colleges credential. What they would do is they would train one of our teachers to actually teach it through the summer professional development, and they would actually enroll in the class at the beginning of the year, and they will continue, and they would actually get the credit at the end of the year, provided that we use the curriculum that University of Texas provides.
And we have plenty of time to get is it a teacher or teachers to the training?
We have one teacher, because we're going to pilot it with pre-calculus, and we do have a teacher already available to do this.
And we do want to thank that one teacher who happens to be here, and that's Lauren Cardenas, for really advocating to actually work with UT at Austin to bring this program to our campus. So thank you very much, Lauren, for reaching out to several of us. We definitely are in support of providing opportunities for our students, and we look forward to hearing good things about the program.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions? Mr. Overfelt?
I think it's awesome. I'm glad you like math because not my strong subject.
I think it's going to be a good thing.
Yes, that's great. I'm proud that you graduated from Del Rio High and came back and are going to give back to the community. That's awesome.
Definitely proud of UT at Austin.
Dr. Ederson, when is it going to be offered for sophomores or juniors or what?
There is a prerequisite to get there, sir, so they would go through several courses to get to the pre-calculus class that we offer here, and I believe the class that precedes that is Algebra 2, pre-AP.
Well, that's going to be good.
Which, it's our juniors.
Great. All right.
All right, the recommendation?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the on-ramps cooperative program agreement with the University of Texas at Austin as presented, allow Dr. Rios to sign the agreement, and pay the invoice when due.
We've heard the recommendation. A lot of people motioning. Mr. Chavita first, second with Mr. Mesa, definitely in support of this. All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thanks, Lauren. And Dr. Garza. Okay, we've addressed D. On to 12, facilities, consideration to approve the lease agreement with Valverde County Loaves and Fishes to utilize the old Cardwell Elementary Kitchen and Cafeteria. Mr. Carrera.
Madam President, Dr. Rios, members of the board, I do have an update because I think in the packet I gave you it's the same verbiage, but I have copies of the new one, so.
I did notice that no one is helping Mr. Carrera distribute his, just making that comment, because everyone always has help.
We'll be punished later.
And this reads the same with the exception of changing dates and things like that, right?
That is correct.
Mr. Overfelt does have a question.
So we're how many years into this agreement with,
This new one will be for 2 years.
okay, I mean, so in the past, we've been doing it since, like, since we shut down the campus, just about, right?
It started in 12.
12, okay.
And it has expired,
We never
renewed it.
And it's to be reviewed now every 24 months.
Yes.
So we'll keep this on some kind of calendar, I think. You kind of help us with that, right? Okay. Any questions? The recommendation, please, sir?
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the lease agreement with Valverde Loaves and Fishes and authorize the superintendent of schools to sign the lease agreement as presented.
We have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Mesa, second by Mr. Chavira. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. 13, Business and Finance, consideration to approve the superintendent and the administration to finalize negotiations with the stop-loss carrier and authorize the superintendent to sign the contract. Ms. Yanakani Valdez.
Good evening, Ms. Lozano, Dr. Rios, board members. Our insurance consultant, Gallagher Benefit Services, is currently conducting the RFP for our stop-loss carrier for our next fiscal year. Since our district is self-funded for our health insurance plan, the stop-loss carriers will only commit for 1 year. We are given a short period of time to approve their proposal, and therefore, as we have done in the past, every June, we have requested that the district insurance consultant be able to work with the superintendent and administration to be able to either accept or reject any bids that were received. Are there any questions?
No questions? The recommendation, please.
Yes, ma'am. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve for the superintendent and district insurance consultant to finalize negotiations with the stop-loss carrier and authorize the superintendent to sign the contract for the 2016-2017 year.
We have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? First by Mr. Mesa, second by Mr. Chavira. Any discussion, questions? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you.
B is the consideration to approve for the board president to appoint the three-member finance committee, Ms. Yanakani Valdez.
Good evening again. We have a board policy, BDB, legal and local, where from time to time, as it deems necessary, the board can create a committee to facilitate the efficiency operations of the board. Under BDB local, the president shall appoint members to the special call committees created by the board to fulfill specific assignments. A board finance committee is used to function in an advisory capacity where we meet on a monthly basis to review the consent items on the board meeting agendas. And every June, we request an update of the committee members.
Okay, so you've heard the discussion. Does anybody wish to sit on the finance committee? Have a real strong desire to visit with Ms. Yanakani? She actually is very thorough. That is, really does provide, the committee does really provide great opportunity to ask many questions, and that way kind of helps facilitate and make this meeting kind of go quicker. Mr. Ken Smith, yay. Ms. Gonzalez, yay. And Mr. Chavita, great.
Okay, perfect.
Are all other board members okay with appointing these three to the Finance Committee?
Absolutely.
We are very excited. So, congratulations. Okay, so the recommendation is to allow me to actually appoint the members. We've had the discussion. We have three very eager board members, which we definitely do appreciate. So I'll get with you to sign whatever I need to sign or whatever, but
Just if they approve, Betty? Yes, just if the board takes a vote.
okay, so the appointment for Mr. Ken Smith, Ms. Diana Gonzalez, and Mr. Robert Chavita to represent the board on the Finance Committee. Motion by Mr. Mesa, second by me. All in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
do appreciate it. C, consideration to approve update to the compensation plans for the district-wide stipends and extra duty for Educator Excellence Innovative Program, which is the EEIP grant. Ms. Valdez.
This evening, we had a presentation on our EEIP grant where we introduced what our initiatives or any changes that we have for the future year. And with those changes are the recommendations that we have before you tonight to present updates to our stipends. Under staff retention, we would like to add hard-to-staff vacant positions to include but not limited to secondary math and science and our blended academy of $3,000. So this would be for any employee within our district if they were to fill one of these positions. So that's why we're labeling it under the category of staff retention. Also, for the staff that completes their master, and I'm sorry for the misspelling, but master reading teacher certification, upon completion, they will receive a stipend of $3,000. And under the extra duty schedule, we have a stipend of $275 for the exemplary lesson plans. And I do want to note that we did remove one of the signing bonuses in order to be able to add the hard-to-staff vacant positions as internal staff retention.
Questions for Ms. Valdez?
So, I'm sorry.
Mr. Overfelt?
So the removal of the hard-to-staff campus of DRMS and DRHS and non-bilingual I'm reading it all upside down. North Heights for mean color and all that there. That removal of that $2,000 one. Those individuals who were hired in getting that, will they continue to get that, or it goes away? I mean, it was a one-time, right? It was a one-time, right?
That was one time.
Okay.
Yes, these were one time as a signing bonus.
Okay, again, math not my strong point. All right, thank you.
And the blended academy is hard to staff? So is it only for the science at blended, or is it any position at blended? Is blended, again, I'm going to ask that question, is blended academy a difficult campus to staff?
I think I'll answer that.
Oh, sure.
The blended academy, it definitely requires a willingness to work with our at-risk students, because there are students that were retained as eighth graders. As we expand the program and include ACAP and non-traditional students, that will grow, and we will have to attract teachers to come to that campus. I do not believe that working with non-traditional students is going to be a difficult job. It's going to be a different job, but not a difficult one, and same with ACAP. But we will have to very quickly hire individuals for that job. So the only difficult part is working with the at-risk students, and that takes a special kind of teacher that may be attracted to go to work somewhere else. I'll give you an example without mentioning names. There's a young man that works there, and he's also a coach. And I'm sure that as a coach, he would want to teach, and obviously coaches have that special connection with students that they can form those relationships. That coach would probably want to teach where he is coaching. So we would have to fill that vacancy because teachers with that gift to work with at-risk students are few and far between. So that, coupled with our efforts to grow that into a fully non-traditional school, would accelerate the need to hire teachers there.
And this is not a recruiting stipend, it's actually it's a retention, so that means every teacher that works at blended would get that additional stipend? Or am I misreading that?
No, this is as a vacancy at the campus is posted, the individual who fills that position, who is currently an employee, would receive that stipend. So it's
it
for
is-
staff
it's
retention
not-
for vacant positions.
Okay. So it's not a retention, it's really more of a recruiting to kind of,
Internal recruiting, yes,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make sure, because I thought maybe everybody was going to come out and get
A stipend.
which would be nice, but, okay. No more questions for me. Any,
And certainly consider that when we go to approve the budget for next year.
Yeah.
Something to
so
think
I'm
about.
I'm still a little confused.
Mr. Smith? Mhm. Yes, questions?
This is a one-time stipend only for internal candidates moving over to this campus.
Yes, sir.
Internal. Internal,
So-
could be,
so
it could
if
be an
Goes
outside
away
person?
next year.
What,
For those teachers, so it's
if a teacher takes a position in the 16-17 fiscal year at the Blended Academy, they would receive a one-time stipend. However, if there's discussions during the budget process for consideration of other stipends at this academy, then in the future years, we would plan for that. But in reference to our EEIP grant, it does end next year. So again, these stipends are just for 16-17.
If I may add, we hear a lot of input from different teachers, whether it be just through informal communication or the teacher communication council. And one of the things that was mentioned, we implemented the EIP was, well, that's great that you're recruiting teachers from the outside. And if you remember, we had a whole lot of vacancies that we no longer have. But how about us people that have been here and are willing to sign on to some of these campuses? So in the final year of this grant, we wanted to honor some of those requests while at the same time helping some of the campuses.
So I guess that's where the staff retention comes in then, because
That's,
you're offering it to internal, because that doesn't specify it here.
yeah, that's why it's confusing. It seems like the verbiage is a little off, but I get it. I mean,
Me too now.
Okay. Any other questions?
A recommendation, please,
Yes, ma'am. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the update to the compensation plans for the district-wide stipends and extra duty for Educator Excellence Innovative Program EEIP grant.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Mesa, second by Mr. Chavita. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Valdez. Under Human Resources and Student Services, the consideration to approve the 2016-2017 teacher appraisal calendar. Dr. Patricia McNamara.
Good evening, Madam President Martinez-Lozano, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. The first item I have this evening is to request approval for the 2016-17 teacher appraisal calendar. The State Board of Education requires that school districts have a board-approved teacher appraisal calendar, and as you all know, we're going into the T-test evaluation system this year, which designates the time frame for the appraisal period. Therefore, the administration is recommending the beginning date to be September 13th, 2016, and the ending date would be May 12th, 2017. In your communique, there's 3 items listed below the bottom half of the page per DNA legal that the appraisal calendar must meet. 1 is excludes observations in the 3 weeks after the day of completion of the T-test, which is indicative of September 13th. Prohibit observations on the last instructional day before any school holiday or any other day deemed inappropriate by the board, such as days that are scheduled for end of course or STAR tax testing. And number 3, indicate a period of summative annual conferences that ends no later than 15 working days before the last day of instruction. Hence, we've designated May 12th, 2017 for your consideration this evening.
Mr. Mesa has a question?
Yes.
Eddie, on this new system, are all teachers going to be required to have an observation and evaluation?
For T-tests,
Yes.
all teachers will have an evaluation. It'll either be one T-test or it'll be an alternate form, which is the same as we've had this year under PDAS. We'll be following those same guidelines.
Okay, so even your experienced teachers will have one at least?
Yes, if they were evaluated under PDAS this year, if they receive the qualifications for an alternate, then they will receive that alternate for next year.
Okay.
And then that's good for 3 years unless they mutually agree to go back to T-tests. And then at the conclusion of those 3 years, then they'll have their first T-tests.
Okay.
And the guidelines were part of the consent item DNA local.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions? No. Recommendation, please?
Yes, ma'am. It is a recommendation of the administration that the 2016-2017 teacher appraisal calendar be approved as presented this evening.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to accept? Mr. Chavita, second by Mr. Overfelt. All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
McNamara. On with consideration to approve the second observation appraiser listing.
Yes, ma'am. In the event that a second observation is requested by a teacher, again under T-test, it is a recommendation of the administration that the school board of trustees approve the following list of second observation appraisers for the 2016-17 school year. Number 1, a campus administrator at the same campus will conduct, or number 2, a campus administrator at another campus will conduct the observation, or number 3, a district administrator from the following listing will be selected. Number 1, the director of federal and state programs, or it may be the director of special ed, or the chief instructional officer for secondary, or finally the chief instructional officer for elementary.
Any questions? The recommendation, please?
Yes, ma'am. It is a recommendation of the administration that the second appraiser observation listing be approved as presented this evening.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Mesa, second by Mr. Chavita. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you.
And Dr. McNamara, consideration to approve the student code of conduct for adoption of the 2016-2017 student handbook.
Yes, ma'am. Last week in your board communique and as well as your board packet, you were provided with the 2016-17 student parent handbook for your review. Just kind of as an overview, Bob Schuman, our school district attorney, reviewed our document for this past year and made several minor edits to the document. They were outlined in your handbook there. He used red to strike out or yellow to include any new verbiage based on legislative review. This is a practice that we've done in the past, and then therefore during the spring semester, this information was shared with cabinet and the CIOs presented it to the principals. Additionally, input was gathered from the following high school committees, which included the Planning and Decision-Making Committee, the Collaborative Planning Team, and the Del Rio High School's Principal Advisory Council. The Del Rio High School committees provided significant changes addressing the dress and groom regulations. And in the handbook, what we did so that would draw attention to that, about towards the end there, it's on a blue sheet in your handbook. We've included all the high school recommendations for your consideration on that blue page. That was also sent out in a board communique. The dress and groom section was the most referenced section that had changes. Bob Schuman did make, again, some few minor edits He reformatted some of the sections, he moved some of the sections around for clarity. And those are in your handbook. Additionally, in the last, today, matter of fact, we received some input from some board members, and so at your place setting, we have made those corrections. One was to the, kind of the cover sheet. We had a typo on Ms. Gonzalez's last name. We have fixed that. On the parental involvement contact roster, there was a recommendation to explain a little bit more about our parental involvement expectations and how parents can then call our parental involvement supervisors with their phone numbers. We have since added that based on that recommendation. And the third recommendation was on page, I believe, 11, under the bullying section. We we actually deleted a paragraph and combined it to the first paragraph based on the recommendations we received today. And those are the three recommendations that I did receive, and we made those adjustments.
Mr. Overfeld?
I've got a question on page 34, the random student drug testing program. Maybe I just need explanation. If upon being tested, the student is found to be using illicit substances, parents are notified and students suspended from any form, or suspended, will be suspended, it should say from, right, instead of form. Any extracurricular activity, and the parking permit shall be suspended for 15 days. And there. The one that gets me is upon a second positive test and then upon a third positive test. I mean, if you get popped the first time for using an illicit substance, why would you still remain on the team? Why would you have a chance to get popped the second and third time? I don't understand that. Second paragraph down, upon a second positive test, suspended 30 days, and you get your parking permit pulled for 30 days. Third positive test, suspended from participation in any extracurricular activity, and you get your parking permit pulled for the remainder of the year. Ooh. So I'm sorry. I don't understand why there would be a need for a second and a third chance to get popped. There, wouldn't you? You got popped for using an illicit substance. You're gone from the program. Why would there be a second or third chance to get test positive again? I don't understand. And I didn't catch it earlier, so I'm sorry I didn't get to meet and ask before. So.
Right. This was presented last year, and it was developed last year with input from different parties. I am not advocating for the way it's written. That is what we came up with last year. If we wish to have a harsher punishment or consequence for us, then we can certainly abide by the wishes of the board. However, I will share with you two items. Okay. One is that these are students that were not necessarily caught in possession of the substance. Okay? So they didn't necessarily violate a school regulation because they were not in possession of it. But they clearly made a mistake because in some form or fashion they participated with the drug. But when you have a student that is struggling with this type of addiction, there's two ways of looking at it. One, we can work with him to make some progress, and they know they're going to be tested again. Or we can say, you're probably a bad influence to the rest of the organization, and we don't want to work with you at all. And you can argue from both sides. I'm not arguing for either side. This is what we came up with. This is what we've implemented. But we'll certainly abide by the wishes of the board.
I mean, I was just curious because I know, out at Laughlin, if you pull the golden ticket and you test positive, it's game over. There, you're dismissed and from the job out there. So, granted, I know there's a difference between dealing with multi-million-dollar jets and playing football, but still, there. But that was my concern with it, and whatever y'all want to do from there out. So.
Mr. Mesa?
There's another typo there. I know Josh mentioned one form instead of from. At the very end of that yellow section, at the very bottom, the district's random drug testing program in so way, it's supposed to be in no way. Just a typo.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I do have a question. You said, in response to Mr. Overfelt's question, that sometimes the student really wasn't involved. Well, this is a student drug testing. If they tested positive, I don't get how they weren't involved.
No,
Maybe I
ma'am.
misunderstood the question.
I might have misspoken, but I did not mean to imply. They were obviously involved in one way or the other, whether they were around it and significantly inhaled it, or they did it themselves. I'm not, no, ma'am. They're involved in one way or the other.
I misunderstood you then. But I too am with Mr. Overfelt. These are, if they're playing on any of our teams, our sports teams, or participating in UIL, they basically, in essence, are representing our district. I'm not quite sure why we would allow for someone, a child, a student, to continue to participate in sports. I happen to know that we do have one program in our high school who is actually much more strict on his players. If they are caught once, there you go. Because he firmly believes that his students should be exemplary on and off the field, and I pat him on the back for that. So thanks, Coach Smith, for having that coach on your coaching staff. And that's Coach Mendes. But I don't see how we would give kids 2, 3, 4, 5 chances. I mean, it is really, I think, a privilege to participate and represent our district. And, I mean, part of this whole random student drug testing program, I hope, would be an eye-opening opportunity for our students. And if they know, okay, let's take the chance. If we happen to be randomly tested and we test positive, it's okay. It's not a big deal. So what lesson are we teaching our kids? That's okay. You'll get a second chance. You'll get a third chance. In life, sometimes when we abuse illegal substances, we don't get a second chance. We cause accidents. We hurt ourselves. We hurt others. So I definitely am with Mr. Overfelt. That's, in my opinion, too lenient. So I know that we aren't discussing the policy here. We're actually just going to approve the Student Code of Conduct Handbook. But if we're tolerating this kind of conduct and giving second and third chances, I can see why some of our students may be a little confused as to what they can or cannot get away with. Yes, sir.
If, I know that in visiting with board members about this document, there have been various concerns mentioned, whether it be typos or this particular policy, or exclusion of Angelo State as one of the dual credit ones, and we refer to the International Baccalaureate Program and things that don't pertain. What I'd like to do, because we're still in time, we have 10 days before the next board meeting. Let me have Coach Smith revisit this policy with some individuals, as well as review the book. And if you could just continue the discussion with this item to know how we feel about the recommendations made for the high school, then we could take your input back, go make some improvements upon the document and have it back to you within 5 days. Within 5 days, Coach Smith, for you to review, and then we'll bring it again at the meeting that's scheduled 10 days from now? Is that appropriate? But I would like for y'all to weigh in on the other items, particularly the dress code, so that we have some guidance.
Okay. So, Dr. McNamara, you won't be reading the recommendation tonight, correct?
That is correct.
So do we need to table it?
Yes. All in favor for tabling,
A motion to table.
a motion to, yes, we need a motion. The student parent handbook approval. First by Mr. Overfelt, second by Mr. Mesa. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to make some positive changes for our students.
And on the, on the dress code part there, since we're gonna go back, did all the campuses get to weigh in on that? Or was it kind of aimed really at the high school or on dress code?
Every campus is given the opportunity to weigh in on the dress code and suggested changes. The high school is the one that took advantage of that and provided the feedback.
Okay. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is consideration to approve the Director of Operations position, the revised administrative job classification listing, and the job description evaluation forms. Dr. McNamara. Oh, Dr. Rios.
She'll read the recommendation, but before before Dr. McNamara responds to it, I know that from more than a couple board members, we had questions. The three jobs that we're looking to consolidate, one is pay grade 4, and the other two are pay grade 5. And so the question was, well, why not go to a pay grade 5 instead of pay grade 4, or consider some adjustment in pay? And I think that's a fair question. What I'd like to do is move forward for the next 2 months with a pay grade 4, because TASB is reviewing and we'll make some recommendations that'll affect next year's budget. And I'm certainly open that when we review all the salaries, if this belongs at a pay grade 5, then we consider that with all the TASB recommendations that we'll be bringing for your approval within the next 30 days or 60 days. Can you remind me, Yamakani?
I believe the third day in August.
Yes. Yeah.
In 2 months, and that'll give us time to really see, because if you remember, I told you it could be for the long haul, but it could be for the short term, and that'll definitely give us 60 days to evaluate it, have TASB evaluate it, and I'm absolutely open to making that a pay grade 5 if TASB recommends, or if we recommend and you approve, and then negotiate an appropriate salary on that pay scale. That would definitely be an adjustment.
Mr. Mesa?
If I may say something, is because this is what I would like, because I know that when other responsibilities are added and the job description changes, it's just appropriate that more work is given to that individual. As I mentioned before, in other situations, the job description is changed, more responsibility added, and so it's just common sense to look at the salary. In this case, it's taken 3 positions and 2 are at a higher level. And so I appreciate anything that you can do to bring this up to a favorable salary amount, which my recommendation would be 5A.
Noted. Any other comments?
I think it's, as, you know, we've had Mr. Rios and I've talked about, I just think it's an employee engagement thing. I mean, it's definitely added responsibility. I think pay should be considered in it. I do agree that I feel like the consolidation is a good idea, and it makes great sense to do so. I just think there should be some financial compensation for it.
Madam President?
Yes, sir.
And I think that I agree with the comments that have been shared with me, and I want to do what's right. I'm asking to evaluate this with everything else and bring it again in August when we review the salaries. I guess this consolidation is important, and I want to make sure that we're all in agreement. And I want, it's hard to get clear indication if we should adjust it now or wait for TASB to review. My recommendation is that we wait for TASB to review, and that's only in August. Certainly, I believe, Ms. Valdez, that once TASB reviews it, the change in pay grades are retroactive to the first day of the contract. So they would be retroactive to July. I think that this is a step in the right direction, and I'd like to review this with everything else that TASB is going to review.
I think it's fair.
I just have a question because, Yanagani, would there be enough time? This is a title change, and as far as Director of Operations, would there be another group to compare it to with the salary study?
I was going to ask the same question.
Well, TASB would be able to take this title once we send them the approved job description, and they would take the same pool of districts that they've compared us to and survey them. And then they could provide us that information. So yes, they would be able to do that.
So my follow-up question, is there enough time?
Yes, sir. Yes.
There would be?
Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Rios.
There would be enough time, but I want to make it clear that whether TASB recommends or not, it's still this board that has the ultimate say.
I definitely agree too. I mean, if we're asking the person that'll hold this position to do additional responsibilities, it does make sense also, though, to wait to see what TASB comes back and recommends, even though we will be the final authority. But it's kind of a win-win because we still can retroactivate it to whatever the first day is for that person that starts the job. So definitely, as long as we keep that in consideration and bring it back to whenever is the first appropriate opportunity to vote on this.
And I just wanted to clarify something on the retroactive. It would be to the beginning of that position's contract, which I
Right,
believe
not
is July 1st.
necessarily the year?
Yes,
Okay.
it's the contract, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay. Recommendation?
Yes, ma'am. It is the recommendation of administration that the Director of Operations position, the revised administration classification listing, and the job description evaluation forms be approved as presented this evening.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to accept? I so move. Second by Mr. Chavita. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you.
E, consideration to approve the revised 2016-2017 school calendar. Dr. McNamara.
Okay. The 2016-17 school calendar, which was Calendar A, Option 1, was board approved on June 14th with several modifications. When those modifications were entered into the template, the addition of Veterans Day, followed by the conversion of November 14th from an instructional day to staff development, created a loss of required minutes for some of our elementary schools in the blended academy. Therefore, in the board communique, you were presented with two additional options. One was Calendar A, Option 1A, which administration took November 14th, and we changed that from a staff development to an instructional day, as it was at the very beginning. and then made April 17th, which was Easter Monday, to a staff development day. That was one option. The second option, which was option 1B in your packet, again, on November 14th, we changed it from a staff development day to an instructional day, left the Monday of Easter as it was originally planned as a holiday. However, we changed September 5th from Labor Day holiday to a staff development in order to meet the required minutes and the number of days for our teaching staff. So those were the changes that came up with since June 14th. And at this time, like some input on that. There are two options out there. Dr. Rios?
If I can just summarize, with the changes that we recommended at the last board meeting, in essence, we reduced one staff development day. And when you have a staff development day, the state credits you, I think it's 480 minutes. And the absence of those minutes created a short change in what the state requires. So we have to put back into place one staff development day. And there's two options. We either do it on Labor Day or we do it the Monday after Easter. In discussions with board members, I think that the recommendation is to reinstate a staff development day during Labor Day. So students would be off Labor Day, but not our teachers. But that's the only way that we can, without extending the school year anymore, that's the option that we have. And at this time, we're going to recommend that the modification be that Labor Day be a staff development day.
I have a question.
Mr. Overfeld?
I know it's staff development, so it doesn't effectively deal with the students there. Why not go June 5, 6 as staff development at the end of the year and keep Labor Day in and the 17th there? Yeah, I could hear it too.
No, I don't think it's a problem, but it's at that point, the students have graduated and we moved on, it's not a school day anymore, and we don't get credit for those 480 minutes. Am I correct, Dr. McNamara?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, there you go. So the Labor Day, the thinking is we're 2 weeks in, we're still fresh. We don't need the holiday right off the bat. We'd rather have it on April. Yes, I'm looking into the crowd. Okay.
Tom didn't weigh in, though. That makes me nervous.
Yeah. Well, not going to make everyone happy. I know that. Okay. Okay.
Mr. Mesa, question? No? Okay, so we have to make a recommendation as to whether we want option 1A or option 1B. And just to clarify, what is the difference between the two?
The difference is, the first one, option A, we would be changing Easter Monday holiday to a staff development day. And with option B, we would do Labor Day as a staff development day.
I'm trying to get a vote out there.
Okay.
Yes, option B is the Labor Day.
Okay. I think it would be.
Okay, can we review that again, because we're a little visual? So you're saying option 1A?
On both calendars, November 14th, we changed it from a staff development day to an instructional day, which is the Monday after Veterans Day.
Right, I
So
think
they
we
both have that in
understand the
common.
holidays for the
Okay.
students, but I think it's the teacher.
Okay.
In summary, the only difference is that in option A,
Right.
in option A, the Monday after Easter is the staff development day.
Right.
Okay? We are not recommending option A, we're recommending option B, but we can certainly, discuss this. In option B, Labor Day becomes the staff development day.
Right.
Those are the only changes. Am I correct, Dr. McNamara?
That is correct.
Everything else
Everything
stays
else
as
stays.
approved.
All the other modifications that you approved June 14th stay.
A is Easter and B is Labor Day.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're recommending B.
Okay. So, may I
Yes,
just,
sir. Mr. Smith.
either Patricia or Carlos make a recommendation, which day they prefer, and we'll
And then
vote
we'll
for it.
vote.
And then you'll vote. Go
Dr.
ahead.
McNamara will read the recommendation to reflect option B.
Yes, sir.
And specifically in option B, specifically say that Labor Day will be a staff development day.
It is a recommendation of administration that the revised 2016-17 school calendar, which would be calendar A, option 1B, changing Labor Day holiday to a staff development day, be approved as presented this evening.
All right, we've heard the recommendation. Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Chavita. No further discussion. All in favor? Unanimous?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Somebody. We have no items under technology for tonight. It leads us to a closed session. It is June 20th at 9 p.m. The Board of Trustees will now recess this open session and convene in a closed meeting in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D and E. We're able to do that under Sections 551.071, 551.074, 551.076, 551.082, 551.084. And let me clarify, that was Sections 551.071 through 551.074. Specifically and pursuant to 551.074, discussion of personnel or to hear complaints against personnel, and 551.071, private consultation with the board's attorney, to discuss the personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignations, reassignments. Number 2, discussion of salary adjustments to include, but not limited to, the following justifications: service credit, master's degree stipends. Number 3, discussion of the response to intervention, RTI director position. And number 4, discussion of administrative positions. If a final vote is required on any matter considered in the closed or executive session, it shall be taken upon the reconvening of the public session covered by this notice or at a subsequent duly posted public meeting as the board shall determine. We're now in closed session. Thank you. Okay, it is June 20th at 10 p.m. The Board of Trustees will now reconvene in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D and E. No action was taken in closed session. Now that we've reconvened, the board may vote upon and/or take action as to any or all of the items considered under closed session. We go to 17A, consideration to approve the personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignations.
Madam President, Martinez-Lozano, members of the board, Dr. Rios, the administration at this time recommends the following new hires for your consideration this evening. Mr. Brent Pradia, Academic Support Specialist, Del Rio High School. Ms. April Rector, Science Teacher, Del Rio High School. Bretta Grubbs, English Teacher, Del Rio Middle School. And Shelley Bryant, 4th grade teacher at Dr. Fermin Calderon Elementary School.
We have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to approve? Mr. Mesa first, second by Mr. Chavita. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving to 17B, consideration to approve salary adjustments to include the following: service credit, master's degree stipends. Dr. McNamara.
President Martinez-Lozano, members of the board, and Dr. Rios, it is the recommendation of the administration that the salary adjustments be approved as presented in closed executive session.
We have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to approve? Mr. Mesa first, second Mr. Chavita. Any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Unanimous, motion carries. 17C, consideration to approve the response to intervention, RTI, Director. Dr. McNamara? No,
I'll be
Dr.
present.
Rios.
It is the recommendation of the administration that Maite Solis be approved as Director of Response to Intervention.
We have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Chavira? Second? Can you read the recommendation again, sir?
It is the recommendation of the administration that Maite Solis be approved as Director of Response to Intervention.
We had a first by Mr. Chavira. Do we have a second? Motion dies. D, consideration to approve administrative positions. Again, Dr. Rios.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the following individuals be approved as elementary principals, campus to be determined. Maite Solis, Jennifer Sutton, and Rufina Adams.
Okay, we've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion?
I have a
I'm
point,
sorry?
point of information.
Point of information, yes, sir?
Do they need to, they can all be bundled, or do they need to be individual?
They're all elementary principals, same pay grade.
Would you,
It's the wishes of the board. We just bundled the teachers.
Just clarifying.
we're requesting that they be
Very well.
read individually.
Okay. It is the recommendation of the administration that Maite Solis be approved as elementary principal, campus to be determined.
We have heard the recommendation from Ms. Solis. Do we have a motion?
I so move.
Mr. Chavira, first. A second, Mr. Smith. Any discussion? All in favor? 5 in favor, against, opposed? 1,
Abstention.
1 abstention. Motion carries. That's on Ms. Maite Solis.
It is a recommendation of the administration that Jennifer Sutton be approved as elementary principal, campus to be determined.
We have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Mesa, second by Mr. Chavira. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Carries for Ms. Jennifer Sutton.
It is a recommendation of the administration that Ms. Rufina Adams be approved as elementary principal, campus to be determined.
We have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? First by Mr. Overfelt, second by Mr. Chavira. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries.
I have one more recommendation, ma'am. I promise I have one more recommendation.
This one or this one?
This one.
All right, Dr. Rios, please.
It is the recommendation of the administration that Sergio Jimenez be approved as assistant principal at San Felipe Memorial Middle School.
We have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Overfelt, second by Mr. Chavira. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Okay, that's the end of the agenda items. And under 18, Superintendent's Report, we didn't have anything for tonight. And the final agenda item is adjournment. We have a motion to adjourn, second by Mr. Chavira. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you and good night. It is 10:07.